Hi, this is Dipali from Karini AI, and today I'm going to show you how to create a production grade RAG application from scratch in less than 10 minutes using Karini's generative AI platform. Welcome to Karini's platform. You're seeing the dashboard page here where we provide in-depth granular level of visibility into your resources, your cost, as well as usage. This is Corini's model hub, which provides out-of-the-box integration with all the leading state-of-the-art model providers. And we also allow you to bring your own custom model endpoints to be registered with Karini's model hub. And then here is Karini's prompt playground, which is a intuitive way to author quality prompts, test and compare your prompts against different models and model parameters, and save your prompt runs. And I will be posting a separate video on each of these topics soon, so please stay tuned. Now, to build our RAG application, we will create a recipe, and for our demo, I'm going to build a RAG based on legal documents, which are Supreme Court judgments. So Recipe gives you this very agile no-code platform that you can use to build your generative AI applications. So let's create a recipe by giving it a name first. So if you think of a Copilot or a RAG application, the elements or the basic ingredients that you need is a storage where you have your knowledge base, a data set which is a reference to your knowledge base, a vector store where you will store your vector embeddings, a prompt along with the LLM which will basically query that vector store and retrieve the information that you need, and then a way to test your RAG application. So it's that simple with Karini's recipe platform. We are just gonna connect these different elements together, and that is basically going to build the recipe for us. Now we're just going to have to fill in all these details. So for example, in my legal use case, I have my data stored in Amazon S3 bucket. So I'm going to select S3 as one of the connectors and provide the bucket path. I'm going to give it some name. I can also test my connector from over here. The next thing is data set, and it's a text data. I'm going to save it. I have these options to configure where I can select the embeddings model. Again, this comes from Karini's model hub. We have registered all these models, so I'm going to select Amazon Titan. I have different options to configure, such as chunking type, chunk size, OCR. So we provide different methods to do OCR, such as unstructured IO, PyMu PDF, or Amazon TextRact. I can also select PII, and then moving on to the next block, I can select a vector store. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead with open search. I need to take into consideration how I want to generate context for my prompt. So I'm gonna select using embedding chunks, or I can also decide to summarize the chunks, or instead of using chunks, I can also use the actual document text. I can select my top K value. You can also enable re-ranker and have the re-ranker top N or the threshold configured. Next thing is prompt. So this comes from the list of prompts configured in the prompt playground. I already have the prompt, which is the legal expert, so I'm going to use that. And this is the prompt. And next thing is output generation options. So we have option available if you want to enable the fallback model. If not, you can go ahead and configure your output. So give it some name, and then you can include conversation history if needed. Select these options if you want to detect greetings and content safety, right, such as unsafe input or toxic input and output, and you can also select these thresholds. So there you go. My recipe pipeline is ready to build my RAG application. I need to publish it to give it a version name, and then I need to invoke this run, which is going to trigger the data ingestion process to basically access my data source and create the vector embeddings using the configuration I have selected over here. So I'm going to start the run. So my recipe run is now complete, and you can see the statistics of the data pre-processing steps that took place
when the data ingestion process was running. Also see how many documents were processed and how many chunks were created. Once that is done, all we have to do is go ahead and test our demo application. Since this is a RAG based on legal documents, I have a question that is hopefully going to give us the answer from. So here our response has been generated, and along with the response we also see a number of very granular statistics that has been returned. So this is very useful information when you're testing your RAG before actually deploying it, to understand how it is performing. And along with that, we also provide this prompt lens, which gives you the complete prompt that was generated after your chunks were retrieved and after they were re-ranked. So this is a very important tooling for observability. And that's it, your RAG is ready. Now, in order to deploy this application, it's very simple, right? All you have to do is export this recipe. So I'm going to quickly design our RAG applications copilot. I'm going to call it legal aid. I can add seed questions if I want, for where these Supreme Court judgments. So I can also decide to add them as seed questions. I can decide the color of my copilot. I can decide custom error message, the widget size. I can enable the feedback options. For example, I can enable 5-star, or I can enable any other custom feedback that I want to capture, or I can also enable corrections, where I want user to have the ability to correct the answers that were generated by the RAG or LLM. So for unsafe and toxic content, you can also provide the messaging as per your company's messaging policies, and you can also uh, basically provide your own default greeting response to your users. And then you can also test it using this internal copilot URL. So let's test our copilot. This is our copilot. As you can see, it has the welcome message, the logo, and the seed questions that we configured in our export form. So we can, let's try and test our copilot right over here. So as you can see, it's giving me the answer, which is a streaming response. It's very fast, it's very elaborate, just the way I expect. And it's also giving me the citations uh, or the sources for this particular response. And it's also suggesting follow-up questions, so that I can further deep dive into my research, right? The actual source document from which the response, using which the response has been generated. And you can also see the feedback section over here, where it's showing the, based on the feedback that we have configured in our export form, it shows all the options. So you can have, in this case we have the like, dislike, or upward downward buttons, and we have the ratings, and we also have correction. As you saw, it's very easy to build high quality RAG application using Karini's innovative platform with just a few clicks, and with built-in tooling for safety, data privacy, observability, as well as monitoring. So in the next video, I'll walk you through our innovative prompt playground. So stay tuned. Thank you.